Hey there guys, and welcome to the start of a brand new series and a brand new take on the Nuzlocke format, the Idolocke Challenge. This challenge combines two of my big gaming pastimes at the moment, Pokemon and Love Live School Idol Festival. You'd think a children's JRPG and a candy box rhythm game wouldn't mesh very well, but I found a way to make it happen, so take that as you will. So, before we dive straight into the main challenge rules, we need to do a little bit of preparation. First, I'm going to assume you already have School Idol Festival installed on your phone and you've already at least started the game. So within School Idol Festival, we first need to build a team that consists of all N cards, all normal cards, and whose stamina as a team does not exceed 20. A big part of the Idolocke challenge involves the player trying to stay alive and maintain their combo during songs. And the easiest way I've found to eliminate any unfair advantages on that front is to use a team with no extra skills and only a modest amount of stamina. A team of N cards happens to fit the bill just perfectly. Note though, if during the course of the challenge an event in School Idol Festival starts, and you absolutely must play all songs with a stronger team in order to stay competitive. I get it, there's like 2 events in Love Live every month. I get you're not going to be able to do this all the time. You should try to at least keep your challenge team free of healing cards or perfect lock cards if possible. Score increaser's totally fine. As well, if you clear a song but lose more than 20 stamina during it, then consider that song failed for the purposes of the challenge. Alright, now for the real meat of the rules. Rule number 1, if a Pokemon faints, it is considered kicked off the fucking team! And that's your warning right there about cursing, because there is gonna be some in this series. Yes, if it faints, it's considered kicked off the team, not dead, because this is a series about idols, it's not about death and blood and gore and whatnot. But it is essentially the same as death in a regular Nuzlocke. If a Pokemon faints, you have to either release it or permanently box it, so same thing, just called something different. For this run, I'll be permaboxing my Pokemon so that they can still at least cheer us on from the sidelines, even if their skills don't cut it on the center stage. Rule number 2. You may only capture the first female Pokemon you encounter in any new area. Nothing against male Pokemon. Love Live is just all about female pop idols, as are most idol anime, so the gender restriction fits in with the spirit of those anime. If you feel really strongly though about having idol groups of mixed gender in your own playthroughs, or want to focus on male idols instead, then totally feel free to alter the challenge to allow whatever genders you prefer in your own playthroughs. That said, if you are playing with the default gender clause and you encounter any male or genderless Pokemon as your first encounter, you ignore them and search for a new Pokemon. You have 5 total chances in each area to encounter a female Pokemon, and if you haven't found one by that 5th encounter, you forfeit your catch for the entire area. Note, if your starter is male, you are allowed to soft reset the game until you get a female starter, which I am doing. Alternately, you can use your male starter as a stand-in and then trade it for a level 5 female Pokemon of similar strength, or you can box or release the starter entirely once you catch your first eligible female in the wild. Also, if you choose to play this challenge on Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, obviously not applicable to this challenge, but if any of you are doing your own challenges out there, Dex Nav Pokemon don't count as encounters, regardless of gender. Ignore them if they pop up in the grass. Okay, next, Dupes Clause. Standard Dupes Clause, no duplicate Pokemon or evolutions of duplicate Pokemon may be used. You have 5 chances in each area, separate from Gender Clause, to encounter a non-duplicate. And if you haven't found a non-dupe by your 5th encounter, forfeit your catch, same as Gender Clause. So, in theory you could have like 10 total encounters in order to find something that fits both requirements, but you know. Usually it's going to be one or the other that runs out first. Next, Legendary Clause. Legendary Pokemon may actually be caught and used, but they have to be female and would legitimately be your first encounter for an area, so it's almost never gonna happen. Male and genderless legendaries, of course, are not allowed as per gender clause. For information's sake, any eligible legendaries are Latias, Cresselia, and female Heatran. That's basically it. That's all the female legendaries there are. And also, if you're playing like Black and White or X and Y or something like that, where you're forced to use or catch any other legendaries for plot reasons, then you must release or permabox them as soon as possible. And lastly, Shiny Claws. If you encounter a shiny Pokemon, catch it! Add it to your team! Add it past any other rules or waiting lists or additional clauses or whatever, because shinies are so rare that they get special treatment. This, by the way, for this particular playthrough is the only means by which male and genderless Pokemon may be used. So, we'll see what happens. Rule number 3. All Pokemon must have nicknames. Preferably nicknames that are fittingly Idolesque, but whatever kinds of nicknames you prefer are fine. For this challenge, I'll be naming all my Pokemon after either characters in School Idol Festival or characters and celebrities that are associated with singing, dancing, or music. I've had a bunch of suggestions so far in the Choose My Starter video. I'm not hurting for nickname suggestions right now, but if you do have some, feel free to leave them in the comments. Alright, now here's where the idol portion of the Idolocke really kicks into high gear. Rule number 4. You do not necessarily get to keep every Pokemon you get. After completing any catch or receiving any eligible gift Pokemon other than your starter, your new Pokemon must perform an audition in School Idol Festival to prove its worth as an idol. The audition process goeth thusly. Pause your Pokemon game and open School Idol Festival. Then go to Live Show and select your difficulty level. The difficulty level is determined by the type of ball you caught your Pokemon in. If you used a regular Pokeball, you can play on normal. If you used a Great Ball, you should play hard. If you used an Ultra Ball or your Master Ball, play EX. Note, if EX songs are currently unavailable in-game, you cannot use Ultra or Master Balls at all. And any other ball, like just whatever non-standard Pokeball, automatically equals hard. So there you go. Then you select a song of the chosen difficulty. Ideally, pick one that you haven't played recently. Don't you just be playing your best songs over and over again, you cheater you. Be fair. Then you play the song with your end team. Obviously, if you fail the song, the audition is over, and you must release or permabox the auditioning Pokemon as soon as possible. If you clear the song, then you get to determine the judge's score. How well your Pokemon scored in the audition is determined by your combo. If you get an S combo, which means you didn't miss a beat, that's a 100% catch rate. The judges were so impressed with your catch that it's just automatically added to the squad, no questions asked. If you get an A combo, that's a 75% catch rate. The judges were very impressed. They just have a couple concerns about the performance that they need to think about first. To simulate their decision process, go to a random number generator, random.org will do, and then generate a number between 1 and 4. If it's a 1 through 3, you keep your catch. If it's a 4, you must release or permabox it. If you get a B combo, that's a 50% catch rate. The judges were mildly impressed, but could go either way on adding the Pokemon to the team. Generate a number between 1 and 4, if it's a 1 to 2, keep it, if it's a 3 to 4, release permabox it. C combo likewise continues to get worse, it's a 25% catch rate. The performance had some potential, but overall the judges weren't wowed. If it's a 1, you catch, if it's a 2 to 4, release and permabox. And no combo, 0% catch rate. Your Pokemon just plain sucks as an idol. Boo! Get it off his stage! Alright. Now, rule number 5 is where the Idolocke starts to resemble another Nuzlocke variant, the Wedlocke. Except instead of fighting in pairs, your Poke-Idols must all fight in groups of 3. These groups are your idol units, akin to the idol units in Muse: Pontomp, Lillywhite, and Bibi. Here are the things you should know about idol units in this challenge. Rule 5A, only 3 idol units may exist at any given time. This, again, is to mirror the 9-member structure of Love Live, and also to keep your rotating party to a manageable size. It's just logic at that point. Rule 5b, Pokemon are added to units as they are caught and auditioned. Your first 3 Pokemon form one unit, the next 3 form the second, the next 3 after that form the third. Pretty simple. 5c, after your units fill up, extra Pokemon are put on a waiting list. And when a spot on your team opens up, you fill it with the oldest catch on that list. A note about this rule: once a Pokemon becomes a member of a unit, she may never join another unit, even as a replacement for a fallen member. If this means you somehow end up having to fight with all solo acts, then too bad, deal with it. Keep going until you make more catches, filling up your oldest units first until you have a full squad again. 5d, all members of a unit must stay together at all times. You can switch units in and out of your party as often as you like, but if you want to deposit or withdraw one member of a unit, any other members of her unit must go with her. "5e", probably the most important part of the entire Rule 5. Pokemon may only battle with other members of their assigned unit. This means if you're in a battle and you want to switch to another Pokemon, you may not switch out to anyone who is not in your active Pokemon's unit. Example, if you have A, B, and C in a unit, and D and E in another unit, and I lead in a battle with A, then during that battle, I can only switch out for B or C, never D or E. The only normal way to switch over to using D and E would be to switch the order of the party outside of battle, and then start the next battle using D and E. Rule 5F, if a Pokemon faints in battle, one of her unit partners must switch in and either win the battle or faint as well. If you run out of Pokemon in a given unit, only then may you switch to Pokemon in another unit. Of course, weird situations arise. Here's how you might handle those situations under this rule set. If you're roared, whirlwinded, or circle thrown, or otherwise forcibly switched into a Pokemon of a different unit, then just continue the battle as normal using the new unit as your active unit. Pretty simple on that one. Where it starts to get complicated is double battles. In a double battle, if one of your 2 active Pokemon faints, and there is a 3rd member of their unit that hasn't yet fainted, you must switch to that 3rd member to replace the fallen Pokemon. If one of your 2 active Pokemon faints and there are no members of the unit left to switch to, you may at that point switch in a member from another unit for the duration of the battle. However, after that, no further switches may be made until another Pokemon faints. Note that you should always try to start double battles with a unit that has 2 or more members, but if this is not possible, that's fine, just follow the above guidelines as best you can. Triple and rotation battles are also tricky, but since they're not relevant to this run, I won't go over the rules for them here. Just know that if you're playing Black and White or later for your own challenge, you can find guidelines for those battle types in the rules document, which is linked in the video description below. And 5G? Like individual Pokemon, each idol unit must have a unique group name, or band name if you will. If all members of a unit die, then that unit's finished. You create a new unit with a new name. So long as there is one surviving member of a unit though, you may continue to use that group name and cycle new members through it. Okay, almost done. Last major rules. Rule number 6. As long as you still have usable Pokemon in your PC or the daycare, the challenge is not over, even in the event of a whiteout. You may rebuild your units as best you can according to the order of your captures, and continue the game until you run out of Pokemon. The only exception to this rule is Sudden Death Clause. If you white out during a battle with the Elite Four or Champion, or other climactic trainers such as Red, then you lose the challenge even if you still have extra Pokemon. This is meant to raise the stakes for these final confrontations. And finally, rule number 7. The challenge rules do not take effect until you receive your first Pokeballs. Okay, I know that's a lot to take in, but once we get into the swing of things, stuff will get a lot clearer, I promise. If you want to read the rules over again at your own pace, then I've included a shortened version under all videos in the series, and there's also a link to the full rules document along with it. And with that, we are finally ready to take to the stage and shine like never before! Good luck on your own challenges, and hope you enjoy the first episode of the inaugural run of this challenge, Poke Idol Festival, a sacred gold Idolocke. See you then!